United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. I'm going to start with the approval of the minutes, and then I will take a break and allow Jill, our external auditor, to speak with the board, and then we will move into the superintendent's report. As is our process, we will have a community question period on the subjects that we're talking about in the superintendent's report, as well as the bond. This way you can ask questions before we make our vote. You can ask questions then, and then at the conclusion, there is always the opportunity to ask any questions. A whole bunch of us are up here coughing up the lung, so please bear with us. We have some students in the back. What class are you from?
At
least the law boys answer. Come on. So you're here on an assignment. Are we allowed to ask you questions?
You can ask. We don't know if we'll have an answer.
That's a good answer.
May I have Terry, will you take approval of the minutes, and then Jill will please.
Approval of the minutes. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of the Board of Education hereby accepts the minutes of the September 26, 2018 regular meeting as submitted.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Any comments? All in favor? Jill?
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to meet with the Board of Education this evening. I'm here to speak about the June 30, 2018 external audit that we just recently completed. I wanted to thank the business office, Linda, Maureen, and all the staff for the efforts that they put forth in allowing us to have those records available to audit on a timely basis. And so my report starts with a risk assessment of the internal control structure, and I'm very proud to say that the district has a very strong internal control structure in place. That's checks and balances over various financial transactions. And that's evident when you read the management letter that I presented to the Board of Education. There were no new comments. The two comments that were in the previous year's letter has to do with computer commissions and fund balance. And the district has made a very concerted effort to bring down their fund balance. The fund balance actually gave them the opportunity to have $5 million available to do capital project work, which you see there's a capital project update here. So fortunately that funding was available to at least jumpstart the efforts for the school district for that purpose. We rendered what's known as an unmodified opinion. It's the highest level of assurance that you get that the financial statements fairly present the financial condition of the school district, not only on June 30th, but throughout the year. And that's important for you, the Board of Education, because we're looking at various time periods during the course of our audit to make sure that the information that you receive is meaningful when it's compared with the books and records. We had one proposed adjusting journal entry, which is, in all of the school district audits that I've had, the last number of years, one is a very rare thing to find. And it has to do with the surplus food calculation. There was an error made with the Office of Government Services with respect to that, and it was a nominal entry. This year, as we talked about at the planning meeting, the district was required to implement GASB 75. GASB 75, for reporting purposes, talks about other post-employment benefits and how you display them on a accrual basis financial statement. And we remember there's two financial statements that the school district has us audit. One is the modified accrual basis, which is the way the district prepares their books and records, and the other, the accrual basis, shows every liability that the district has, whether or not it's paid for after the 2019 budget or a budget 20 years from now. And so with the implementation of that GASB 75 pronouncement, when you look at the statement of net position, which is the accrual basis financial statement, is this very, very huge liability at $71 million. Not to be alarmed, this is for reporting purposes. We know that the school district, through their budget each year, provides for the cost of retirees' health insurance premiums and reimbursements. And so this is something new on the financial statement for this year. I would rather, the Board of Education focus on the modified accrual basis financial statements, which mirror their budget, and you see that you have a positive financial result for the year, which led to the ability to be able to fund the $5 million towards the capital projects in accordance with the voters' authorization. We also looked at the extra classroom activity accounts because the State Education Department asked us to do that. It's a cash basis report. It's not really under the control of the business office. And we have a financial statement which details for each club and activity the transactions of those particular activities and clubs. We will be conducting the federal single audit. It's due by March 31st, 2019, and it's a compliance-driven audit during the last quarter of this year. I didn't know whether or not the Board of Education had any particular questions for me.
When you looked at the audit and made suggestions, did you find that there was any pushback or concerns with regards to the district office or administrators in implementing any of the corrective action plans that you suggested?
No. As a matter of fact, the corrective action plan presented to the Board of Education is a sound corrective action plan, and the procedures that are prescribed as being implemented were in fact in place. And the computer permission area is a difficult area, especially with the software that's being used. There's been updates to the software, and with the updates in the software, a lot of the permissions that were restricted before have been lifted, and it's a matter of someone now actively going through various areas of the software program to just make sure that those permissions are taken away from those individuals who are not responsible for those job duties. We didn't see in our audit that anyone in the district had been working in areas of the software that would be problematic to the district's books and records.
May I ask a question again on GASB 75? For our purposes, is it appropriate for the board to continue to look at the modified accrual process so that we understand it better versus what appears to be, that's our obligation forever for all persons going forward under the new system? Is that correct?
Correct. So that's your ultimate liability. It's based upon an actuary's calculation. It's based on current census information. We know interest rates are changing. We know health insurance cost rates are changing. Your census will always change. So it's a moment in time. It's a valuation that's done every 2 years and rolled forward to be used in that off year. And as long as you're able to provide for in your budget your current cost as you're going along, which is what you have been doing, and it's a controlled cost, I think that's the thing, to your point, that you should be focusing on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I have a question about that computer access, that you said that because of updates, a lot of the permissions were now, or restrictions for permissions were now removed. And that your audit showed that no one had been working in areas that they should not have had permission. Do you require a corrective action plan to impose least privilege to that software?
I think Linda will be putting forth a corrective action plan in response to that management letter comment.
We're going to be switching software, actually, but some, we're going for a new software program.
Okay.
That will happen, that will work.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Jill.
Okay, thank you very much.
We'll now move into Superintendent Rosdale's report, which will then go into the bond presentation. So we're going to excuse ourselves to go down to the seats and begin the break.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and students. I hope your teacher's here tonight. Is your teacher here? No. You have to ask her why she's not. Okay. If you're here, you should be here. Okay, moving along. Monthly, since the summer, I've been presenting our update on the capital project, which was voted through in May. And if you've been around during the summer, you've seen a lot of things happen. Changes on the campus, changes on our athletic field. Included in the capital project was a new turf field and track, and they have been completed. That work was done and completed before schedule. If you've been here and attended games, it's a very attractive difference on our campus, as well as just walking around. We have a lot of track people here tonight, but just walking on that track, you can feel the difference between the new one and the old one. In addition to this, the track and field, we completed repairs on our high school roof, but the thing you have to understand, that's only 1/3 of the roof that's been repaired and replaced. In the bond, which Bob will speak about in a little while, is a completion of those renovations to our roof. If you were here on parent-teacher night, or some of your students who are here on rainy days, you know what the rest of the roof does still, particularly in the art wing. If you're down below, the recipient of the rainfall that's striking the glass room above. We have a long way to go in repairing that roof, but that's been completed too, and is completed again in a timely manner. If you've been driving by the campus, through the campus, you've seen changes in our perimeter fencing, cleaning up the brush around the campus. Particular areas of concern to us were the fence on the 25A side of the campus, which were beaten down, non-existent, and we've had problems with homeless and the rest in the post office, and they would have actually had easy access to our campus and kids on our playground. So that was vital to complete that fencing. The fencing on the east side of the campus, again, cleaning up the brush. The fencing is a lot more attractive than we had before, but I've also mentioned in my previous meetings is that the first thing, any assessment, security assessment stated, even before getting guards, armed guards, is securing your perimeter. So this has been a priority for the board since last spring, and now it's reached fruition. We have a few more things to go on the north side, on North Country Road, and that's the fence. That's a picture of North Country Road with a decorative fencing, which makes quite a bit of difference versus a chain link fence. So the board was sensitive to the areas, their environment, our neighborhoods, our neighbors, as these fences were being installed. What has yet to come is our gates on the North Country Road and 25A sign, which will be, there'll be piled stone pillars, attractive gates as well. Changes the whole look of the campus. And on this side in particular, if you noted earlier before, there was really no fencing at all on that perimeter. So again, this is coming along. We expect completion in the next few weeks. The only thing might be the pillared gates. Along with the field and the track, the other things, that whole thing's being completed, renovated, we have the bleachers. Right now we're down to choosing the bleachers from two companies. It's Yes and Lantec, I believe. They have a difference in price. They offer different things. So, but what we're doing now is rather than having them installed now, as the weather gets colder, and it takes 12 weeks to order, from what I understand. So if you order now, it arrives in the wintertime. You can't install them in the winter. Yet if they arrive, you can't complete do the installation in the spring because we have track. We have various sports using the field and the track. So our estimated time of completion, right after graduation, that construction on the new bleachers and press box will be completed. That'll be done after graduation. Makes sense. We can use these now, but the additional bleachers will arrange for more seating, which would be great for graduation and large events. So those are the main things. The complete turf field and track, perimeter fencing, repairs on the roof of the high school. Included in the bond, as I said, are the rest of the repairs to the roof and repairs to the roof in the middle school. Okay? So we're coming along, just about everything's completed, it'll be wrapped up before long. And now Bob Sweeney is going to talk about the proposed bond and the items contained within it.
With coffee. A couple of the items that have already been done or are in process, for example, the bleachers. First of all, you don't want to take shipment of all of the bleachers, the press box and everything else and store it here. It's now our responsibility, and if something happens to it while it sits here in the winter, that's our responsibility. We're not going to install it until the summer. There's no sense taking shipment of that ahead of time. The high school, as we sit in it, is actually 4 buildings connected by hallways. So the most difficult wing was completed. We also will be focusing on the culprit of the current leak, my favorite part of the building, the greenhouse. That will be rebuilt and changed into a storeroom. It's not been used in many, many years. It was something that we looked at. There's an example of the process that we used to go forward with this. It would cost $100,000 to replace the greenhouse. It would cost $45,000 to $65,000 to build it out, take it off, build it out, and make it into a storeroom. That's what it's used for now. Why spend the money on that when we don't use it that way? It was a great idea probably 25 or 27 years ago, but it's not been used in that fashion. The bleachers are being changed out because besides the more space that we'll get, they'll be ADA compliant. What we've done so far is we've had a cross-section of the community provide advice to the board. The board received a number of input from members of the community on a lot of different projects that they honed down to what they felt were good projects. Frankly, if you looked at every single project while they were outside with back to school night, I would dare say there wasn't a bad project there. Every one of them was a good idea. The question becomes what is needed and what is student-centered. And that's what the board then took up over the past 3 months, where we finalized some decisions. We offered some opportunity for different groups to offer additional opinion, and then last week looked at, in our workshop, the final list of projects and made sure that they made sense. Some of these projects, because of the projects coming on and off the list, were no longer connected properly, and we had to go back and say, let's do it smart. For example, you can't see our sign on the north side of the property. So, why did you put the fence there? Well, we want to have the trades come all at once. So the masons are coming all at once, and they'll repair that sign, raise it, and they'll also put the gates. The same thing we looked at with the bathrooms. Why wait till the state tells us we have to make significant changes? Let's prepare ahead and also make all of our bathrooms in all 3 of the buildings ADA compliant. They're not. So these are the things that we looked at to where we need to do it and where we need to do it across the district. What will happen next will be our workshop is completed, our board meeting tonight. The board will now formally vote on whether or not to present the bond for community vote, and the community vote would then be scheduled on December 11th. From this point forward, through to December 5th. If you are not registered currently as a voter and you want to participate, you can come and register. Is that correct?
Yes.
We looked at such things as security, the learning environment, and that learning environment is not just the physical classroom, but how the students feel when they're in the building and how it looks and how it provides for them in a positive way. We looked at classroom improvements. We felt, as a board, there are a lot of good ideas, but you needed to balance those ideas between all of our different parts of our program that included everything from academics, sports, the arts, classroom setup, technology, and security. All of the projects came through in terms of where they were needed, and then we looked at them Wednesday night and said, what are some of the projects? They're fine ideas, but there's no reason to take a loan for that. A bond is an opportunity to take a loan. I think I've said that to you previously. So if we can accommodate those repairs or costs in our budget or in what we have recreated in July, a capital reserve fund, then that's what we should do. You shouldn't be taxed twice. Some of the items, as I'll go through, I've summarized them for you. Somewhere up here was a summary sheet. If you have picked up the summary sheet, thank you. This is what the board will be voting on in terms of the proposed bond. You can read it at your leisure, and it specifically outlines per project the cost so that you can see what it costs and do your own calculations. How does that affect your how is your assessed value affect the tax? Our security and safety was replacing and upgrading in all the buildings the public address systems, all of the doors, all the hardware. We're changing out doors from big glass doors to small glass lights, I call them. We're changing out 2 solid doors. We're changing out interior doors. We're allowing for technology to open and lock doors automatically. We're allowing for interior doors so that when you come into a lobby, you don't have immediate access into the student body without an escort. That is just coming into this building. It's a beautiful entrance. We don't want to change the aesthetics and make it feel oppressive, but by installing doors interior to the hallway, we limit the access that you have as a guest to our school. The high school cafeteria and all of the various buildings will get a reflective film. You can't just look in and see who's in there. It's not ballistic, but it does serve the purpose of keeping keeping it private inside the building. In addition, the cafeteria will have the glass accompanied by, we're building up the glass with, they call it storefront steel out front, which will also be in addition to parking lot stanchions that would be for safety if a car were to skip the curb or anything like that. Right now we rely on 3 tables and a couple of trees. We will also look at how we can upgrade the courtyard that's out front so that it can be used by the students, and look at how we would fix that up so it would also be safe for them to be outside, so they're not right out in the parking lot. You'll see further on in the discussion paving that will change at the high school. That's not just repaving the parking lot. We will be changing the traffic flow. You've seen a little bit of it so far, where you're required to turn right into the flow of traffic. You'll start to see, as we move forward with this, that the front of the building will not be for vehicle traffic other than buses. That when you park, you'll park outside of the area for the students, and that it won't be right up front. Some of the traffic flow may involve opening up some of the medians so there's ease of movement between, if you've ever been here, when there's a concert, plus the teams are coming back, the buses don't fit. We will be increasing the security cameras throughout the exterior and interior of the buildings. That's part of our overall security plan. A lot of renovations and repairs have to be done. We have older buildings. This is the newest building, and it's 27 or 28 years old. The elementary school is quite old, and just like everything else, we have to start tending to major maintenance, major renovations. You can't always keep repairing these things. These will involve renovations, finishing this roof, renovations at the elementary school. It will involve HVAC and boiler repairs in various buildings. The gym floor in the middle school has to be replaced. And up in the high school, we'll look at changing out in the gym a fresh air exchange. It's a very good thing. And the locker room renovation and expansion. That has a two-part piece to it. There's a security issue to that and a supervision issue to that. As we've added to our population, and we put in more lockers, there's lines of sight issues. So that's what's driving that, more of a security issue, as well as that our students can actually put their equipment away. If you ever went in there during the day, most of it's on the floor. I spoke about the paving in the middle school, because we're going to change the entrance. Instead of building out, we thought about building in. We're going to change the entrance to a more formal lobby and change out some of the offices already in the library. It won't take up a lot of the room of the library where that security booth is. Will be a little bit larger so someone can sit and wait for an escort to bring them to where they need to go. But in addition, it allows us to add into the middle school a full STEAM lab. That will also have all kinds of different technology in it as we populate that going forward. The high school auditorium, this room. Our sound system, our lighting system, the controls are amateur at best and one step above a PA system. We do spectacular programs here for the arts, music, drama, that frequently we have to hire people to do. We will have improved that to include sound boards, lighting boards, and controls that we can operate them properly. That same thing is going to occur, I'm skipping ahead to the next slide because I know what's on the next slide. The middle school is getting the same thing. The middle school has basically a mic and a speaker. It is not a sound system. It barely makes it as a PA system. Our arts and music department wants to use the middle school. It's smaller than here. It may provide for more intimate programs and allow for more impromptu programs in the middle school that will have a proper lighting system, proper sound system, and controls appropriate for the middle school size, but allows the middle school students to participate and put on productions right in the middle school. We often use up here. We will then have the option of using a smaller auditorium for more intimate programs that would be really nice for the middle school. And frankly, if there's a small program here and we take up a lot of nights, you'll be able to use it down in the middle school. One of the concepts that was the theme throughout all this is one campus. We have the benefit of one campus. All where many schools have multiple campuses, we have one campus, and that's how we started to look at this. How can we use the entire campus as efficiently as possible so that we're able to do a lot of things with the space that we have? We will be upgrading our home and careers into a culinary arts type program, a full-blown CTE program. If you've been up to the kitchens, they have some things, but how many restaurants do you know have quartz top cookware? These are residential type stoves. This is not how you're going to teach kids how to cook, not just in home and careers, but as a potential career training enterprise, to get them interested in this and see if this is another area where our students may excel and may consider other careers as they leave our high school. We will also be adding music practice rooms. We currently don't really have them, and we're going to be adding these pre-module practice rooms for the music department. We talked about the arts. We'll be renovating the girls' varsity softball field into a true varsity field with infield turf, drainage, all new fencing, signage, bleachers and dugouts, so that that field accommodates our championship softball team appropriately. They use it all the time. They have guests coming using it all the time. Currently, I'm not sure if it's going to be at the elementary location or at the middle school location, but that's a decision the athletic director will make, but those are the renovations there. Middle school auditorium I spoke of, that includes the HVAC. We'll be replacing the rooftop unit that runs up there, lighting and sound controls. There's some repairs that will be needed in the auditorium. What you'll see in the project, I'm anticipating a question, well, when will this occur? As we start into certain projects, what will happen is you'll try to couple a whole bunch of them all together, so one, you have a degree of efficiency with the trades that you bring in. Two, that we have as little disruption as possible, and that we're doing it as quickly as possible within the means that we have. High school renovations also include new science labs, new prep rooms for the science labs. There'll be a lot of renovations to the science labs, big changes. Those big old black tables are gone. You're not going to have those old sinks with a Bunsen burner shooting gas into them. Art and technology classrooms, we're going to be redoing the art classrooms, particularly the two in the 100 ring, 107 and 109. Those will be redone. That will also be part of, right off that is the greenhouse that will be changed out to a room. We'll also be upgrading the boys varsity field with infield turf and drainage. Another area that, look, this is the grounds we have. And Mount Sinai is known for its clay. There is clay all over the place, and all the work we've done to all of the different fields, there are clay pits underneath everything around this area, and they don't drain well. So last year, the varsity team played 3 or 4 times on them and went elsewhere, incurring expenses to travel and everything else. This will solve that issue and maintain the rest of the field. There'll also be a multi-purpose field that will be on the other side of the bleachers that will take some of the draw off the current fields, and it can be used by all of the sports. The area, not on this list, but off the bleachers, there's a drainage problem next to the bleachers. That's been a problem for years. There's 2 drains in the ground. We're going to be looking as we finish the track and field project there to renovate those drains and complete the walk so that when you come from the parking lot up and around, you can walk right to the bleachers. This is what it's going to run, $25,331,498. That works out on the assessed value. We thought this was a useful tool so that you can take it, go home, figure out your assessed value. $3,700 is the average in Mount Sinai. It's $240.29. That's the addition. If your house is a 5,700 square foot house, it's $370.54. That's the investment into our schools, into what this is all about. This is about, when you're doing a bond, you're not doing it for now, you're doing it for the kids going forward. Some of these projects will be completed within the next couple of years, but you're also trying to think like a crystal ball, and this is what the board has had to do. What will education be 10 years from now? What will the facilities be 10 years from now? Why do we want to do it this way versus that way? What things are we correcting that we learned over the past 25 years that were done wrong? How many of you know that the football field is in the wrong place? Where was it supposed to be? The football field was supposed to be along the side or in the front where the parking lot is. What drove that? Drainage. But there's an example of, you get to a point, well, let's do it this way. And we've had to deal with that all these years, where the parking lot is right up against the building, the field is out past there, and it creates drainage issues elsewhere. We have taken some of the projects that were perfectly good projects and looked at them and said, we can cover those in what we already have budgeted. We will, in some of these instances, in May, you will have to vote to remove money that we already have in the capital reserve. Just like your house, in July, we proposed a capital reserve fund. You prepare for routine maintenance. If you wait till it's all done, or it all needs to get done, that's what costs even more. You prepare ahead of time. So that some of these things we will do over the years to come and try to put money aside so that we can have a capital reserve to do appropriate repairs over the years. Some of these are blinds, shades in the high school. We can cover all those, we'll replace those. They may not come all at once. We might do 10 classrooms in a particular semester. We might do the next after the break, over time. Technology room ventilation, general masonry, concrete repairs, those are things that we should do on a regular basis. We're going to be upgrading the trainer's room. The trainer's room is off the locker room. It doesn't have a sink. It doesn't have hygiene. You can't wash up. It doesn't have room for a proper table. And as a school district, many years ago, our athletic director recommended, and the board agreed, we have a trainer on staff. Not every school district does, but we have a trainer on staff who we contract with, who's at our games, who takes care of our kids and frankly, our guests. And this is I've gone through it with my own children, the things that the trainer will do and help them with, get them back out playing, or where appropriate, not get out playing. Music Lab, something that we're looking at is a possible, down the road, another CTE program. This will require us to look at a space assessment within our buildings. Where can we put that? And have a music lab, recording lab, that we could lead towards the technology of music as another potential career opportunity for our kids. Are they necessarily going to come out of high school with the culinary arts or music as boom, they're working for CBS right away? It gives them the interest. Will they go on to 5 Towns? Will they go on to the Culinary Institute? Will they study out at Suffolk at the Culinary Institute? If we show them there are other paths, there's great opportunity for our kids that they should explore and we should encourage. After tonight, when the board votes, assuming the board votes to proceed with the resolution, the community decides. This is your decision. We've done the raw material, we've done the work behind it, but this becomes your decision. Your decision as to whether or not, whether you have children in the district, not in school, whether you have kindergartners, 11th graders. This is an investment of our community. I have always said that our school district is the center and heart of our community. This is what it's about. We are looking at a balanced bond that covers all of the different parts of our program, that enhances our program and makes our buildings safe, they're running properly, and then our students have opportunities, and then our students have programs that they can grow. Any questions?
Hey, Bob.
Yes, sir.
When we get the bleachers, do we have an estimated duration of demolition and installation of the new equipment?
That's why we have, it's
about 3 weeks. A week
3
for the
weeks.
demolition of the existing bleachers and press box, then about 2 weeks for the installation of the new
Okay.
press box.
How are you?
Hey, Marion. Did I miss lighting in the high school parking lot?
We're doing that now.
That's already being done.
Oh, okay.
There are some things where we just, as you'll see the work going on in this building and this fencing. You're doing stuff in the building area. Remember, the other piece of this is we have tied projects to building-specific, student-centered projects. What does that realize? As much possible student aid as you can get.
So
That-
everything that currently is not.
Currently is part of the reserve. It came out of the reserve fund as a capital project.
Hey, Bob, if you could remind the
Capital
community.
project. Yeah. Yep.
Doing it now.
Doing it now.
But not now.
Not the capital project. Not the capital project, just doing it.
Bob, if we can remind the community of our anticipated level of aid from the state if this bond were to pass.
Severio has given us advice as to what we would expect given our past experience of aid, and that was anywhere from 78 to,
We estimated about 85% of all the projects contained within the bond would be eligible for your 73% building aid reimbursement.
so for
78.
So for the dollar we spend, 85 cents of it is eligible for aid consideration. Of that 85%, we would be at almost the highest level that you would get aid. That means we get that money back. They don't send it back tomorrow. We get it over time, but we have, in our high school bond, we received, all the way till this coming year, we receive aid back of $500,000 approximately. About $500,000 comes back into our general fund. It's not a wash because we use that money. That's aid. When you see in January, we start talking about the budget and you see what we're getting in state aid, that's from some of our work. So it makes financial sense to make sure that we maximize whatever project we're doing into a fully aidable project. For example, we put up fences. Should we put up fences and do nothing else, there might not be a lot of aid. But if you tie the fences to overall security and building renovations, the whole project becomes an aidable project. Yes, sir.
What's the duration of the bond?
15.
Yeah.
15. If it was, we were building a building, it would be longer. How about the kids? Any questions back there? I'm gonna get, you must have questions. It's your school. Yes, sir.
Specifically with the fencing and the perimeter, I understand that we're trying to make this perimeter as secure as possible, specifically
Yes.
for our safety. I'm just concerned specifically with the gate that you have opening up to the dome. I know a lot of, specifically me and a lot of the community back there, use that gate as a way to get to school pretty quickly rather than driving all the way around.
Yep.
It's a quick 5-minute walk. I'm curious, are they planning to close that off in the future, or are we going to leave that semi-open or have some sort of security around those entrances?
The gate door, we have, to answer your question, there's a couple of parts. One, we do have roving security that is out on the property. But specifically, the gate, there will be an operable gate. If you walk near it, the gate is long since sunk into the ground and you cannot close it. We will have an operable gate, that's part of the fence project. And that gate will be closed during the school hours. So you can still use it, and much like our gates in and out for vehicular traffic, you can walk in, but then at a certain hour they'll be closed.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you planning to implement the same safety procedures like the ID tags that we have in the high school, in the middle and elementary?
We're looking at those, probably.
Because if they're continuous costs, are you going to do those in this budget, or are you going to do that at a later time?
I didn't hear the last half of the question.
Since they're continuous costs, are those included in this budget or no?
They're in our budget. They're not being paid for out of bond or capital project. That's general fund money. And as we expand it, that's what it will be.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
In the last board meeting, when you proposed this bond, you mentioned something about another gym being built at the high school. Is that not being?
That is not being done.
Okay.
There is, the only that you could call some form of brick and mortar is that there's going to be a bump out of the existing locker room. but there's no buildings being built. We did take that into consideration. It's a lovely idea, but this is the balance that we had to deal with. Brett?
The visitors' bleachers are currently not being, at the high school, are currently not being replaced. What discussion has been taking place or being considered for revising those so they're ADA compliant?
The visitors bleachers also.
When we get all the new bleachers, they all come, both home team and the visitor bleachers.
Oh,
You mean the little ones that are over on the opposite side?
Correct.
Right. No, they're not being replaced. The bleachers will be larger. We went with one big set as opposed to, there's not a lot of room to put another set.
Right. So they're there now.
Mm-hmm.
They're very helpful for people with limited mobility who can't walk to the other side.
Okay, I see what you're doing.
Which,
We're not taking them down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right now they're not ADA compliant. So it's a trade-off. You have to walk over to ones that you could roll up, or you have to have a shorter distance one you may not be able to walk up at all. So it's,
One consideration may be as we start doing the turf work, where there is a cement pad and where there may be an opportunity to put a lot, it currently has a very small pad, where there might be something where you would come up, for example, a short walk, dropping off someone that could sit on that pad versus climb up the stairs, that type of thing. That's where we get into, we're doing the work in the area, and if you added 10 feet to the pad, but didn't put bleacher on it, it would accommodate that type of thing. And that's a good idea. Yes, sir.
The locker room renovations, is that going to apply to the varsity teen room also, or is that just going to be for the PE classes and the track locker room?
I think it's all of it.
Varsity, team room and PE class.
Right, the whole thing. Those are the ones with the really, the varsity team is the tiny little lockers. I don't know how you put the stuff in. Any other questions?
what was your turnout for the work session?
We had one person.
Okay. I'm a little disappointed that that wasn't posted on the Facebook site. There was nothing there. I didn't get a call home, as with other board meetings, so.
You were here at the last board meeting, right?
I was.
And I announced it then?
You did?
Yes?
But
I was gonna come to your house and get you.
I'm not saying about me.
Yeah.
I had a conflict that night.
No, I'm busting you.
Yeah, I know you.
But
you
we
know, we're
announced
doing
it,
a lot of
and it
work.
was in our handouts, as well as that was a noticed meeting, as well as on our video. We had a week to present it. We had one of the bond committee members joined us, was in the audience, and that was the extent of the meeting. Yes, sir.
In the last board meeting, you mentioned something about storage in the middle school. Like they said, they keep a lot of their equipment, like in the locker room and the bathroom areas and stuff. Is that being addressed?
All the bathrooms, this is what I found interesting in the other members of the board. We were renovating one of the building's bathrooms. We hadn't included the high school. So all three buildings are being done. And storage, the bathrooms and storage are not the same thing. What I discussed last meeting was the middle school basement was a hoarder's paradise. I guess we all thought someday we would use some of those things that we had from 20 years ago. There's a relatively large basement in the middle school, and finally that was cleaned out. A lot of work was put into it. It was empty there's things down there that people have retired for 20 years and they're not coming for their stuff. Those are two different things. We've cleaned that out. It's a safer environment down there. We don't use it for just generic storage anymore. That's an equipment and mechanical room, and that's what we need. Yes?
Just one comment about the fence along 25 North Country. I know that I'm sure there was a lot of effort to try to find something that looks attractive. I've spoken with a number of people about it, and while there may have been limited options, the consensus seems to be it looks like a prison fence. Looks more like something you find in Queens with guards behind it rather than kind of a more country campus to a school. And I don't think that's what the community had in mind with an attractive decorative fence.
I would say that everyone looks at something different. Personally, I disagree with you. It's a very attractive fence. We may disagree. That is a type of it is a commercial grade, but based on a residential fence without points on top. And that we chose that as a board. People don't like it. Okay, that's what we chose. To be quite the opposite, not look like a prison. A chain link fence running along where there are homes in our neighborhoods would look like that, and I think that with our gates has upgraded that end. Tastes different. I appreciate your comment, and those who don't like it, I think it's a nice look.
You mentioned the sign. You briefly made a comment about the sign on North Country that you can't see it now because of the fence.
You could.
Well, it's very hard. Certainly, you can't have the light anymore when you look at it.
The fence was designed thinking going into the future.
Right.
If we were to consider changing the access road or widening that or consider a small parking lot, I don't know if any of you have gone to an event that might be what we call the JV sod. People park on the grass, park in the lane. It becomes a problem for fire services to come through. I don't think we could put up any more signs to tell people not to park there. They park under them. The opportunity may be down the road to carve out a small parking lot there that we would use for events on the JV side. So the fence placement was related to what kind of space could we use, and the intent is to raise the sign when the masonry work is done at the gate.
Okay, that was a comment you made, and I didn't quite catch it.
Yeah.
So the plan is to do that. Okay.
Yep. Yes, sir.
The assessed value numbers that you mentioned earlier, are they based upon the full bond price, or are they based upon how much we might get back?
Full bond.
So
the 25.
And it takes into consideration
Yeah, so it does take that into consideration. So, thank you. So if we don't get the aid, what happens?
I'm going to tell you, there's no way you cannot. That's how it's been defined. Our aid will be defined by, these are projects that fit within the definition of what we're doing. What you'll see tonight is we're doing a CEQA resolution, which is the process to start the permitting to the state education. So we do the permit first. I guess you could say, is it possible the state could say, no, you're not allowed to do that? We would get approved for the CEQA. That would then allow us, we're fitting within their definition of what's able. So we do that first.
Our aid ratio is set, it's 70%. So of anything.
They don't take it away.
And when you apply to the building department and state education, you get the permit, that's the approval of your project, which therefore sets your aid in stone. And that, this is your project, and that's what construction approves your aid in stone. So you don't do the work and then say, okay, well, we get the aid. You get the approval when you know it's happening before it happens.
If we did it first, that could be the possibility. Probably not, but why do it that way? We do it through the proper permitting process. We don't get a building permit from the town, we get it from the state education. And then they approve it, that means we're approved for our aid rate. Okay, yes, sir.
I noticed that the track and the field have been finished renovating, correct?
Good question. Beyond, south of the turf field is the new track and field center that is being finished. You see all the stainless steel that has been put in, all the drainage is completed. There'll be some cement and turfing over there. And as I mentioned, there'll be some walks that will deal with the construction trucks that have been tearing up the land over there. And that will be completed on that side.
I was wondering if there was an estimated time of completion for that side of the pit side.
About a month. We have to start completing certainly cement work because temperature affects cement. Yes, sir.
So if I may ask, I understand we're going to be renovating the technology rooms and art rooms, as well
Yep.
as doing the music labs at the high school. Is there any concern over if it's going to, in the future specifically, affect any of those classes going on? For example, the art rooms and technology rooms are most likely going to be at admission while they're being renovated. How are those classes going to be distributed? Are they going to be changing rooms?
Those will be done during the summer.
Oh,
Yeah. We would have to schedule, in the bond is also not outlined specifically, but there's a project, we're going to have a project manager that will oversee all of the different projects so that our timing and that the work is being done in a timely, efficient manner and with as little disturbance to certainly the interior of the school as possible. Yes, ma'am.
So as a music student, we're not allowed to use some of the practice rooms, or like our time is limited in them. So why are we expanding on new practice rooms when the money could be used for something else?
The question was, the practice rooms you currently have, you don't get to use them as much.
Like,
These will be,
they're locked. Like there's 2 rooms over there and they're locked. We're not allowed to use them.
these will be in addition to, and this will be a question of why can't you use them? That's what they're there for.
Okay.
So you should be able to use them. I don't know what, they should be locked now.
Yeah.
In pin. Yes.
With the rest of the roofing, you said like 1/3 of it had been completed. Is the rest, like the 2/3 that is left, like especially over the art room because it leaks like hell in there? When is it part of this proposed plan, or is it already funded and completed?
The art room 107, 109 probably will be addressed. We think it's coming from the greenhouse. So that'll fix that. And that whole A wing will be done. The rest of the building will be done. That is after if the bond passes, December 11th, we will begin immediately the way we did with the portion of the roof that we completed. We will begin the permitting process up to SED, get our permit, and then proceed to work.
So will that be done before the summer, or?
It may be. Yeah. Yes.
I believe you said that the board is working on improving the traffic in the high school parking lot, correct?
Yes.
Is the board planning to do that?
The plan is, when you come in now, you see that little island that was installed. That is what's called a traffic flow guidance. It's sending you around in a particular direction. As you come down, if you follow around, you have that open area that's parking right in front of the school. That's not going to be there. That's going to move up. That's for buses. The ultimate plan was to make that more of a pedestrian mall, that there isn't immediate parking right to the school curb. There may be other changes. Presently, what's looked at is when you come into the parking lot on either side, there's no way to go in between. So you are forced to go into a flow of traffic coming out where the median that runs down the trees, there is enough space to put in a ingress and an egress between the 2 parking areas. It requires moving 1 lamppost, and we're going to lose 1 tree. Yes?
Would you be losing parking spaces if you did that?
4. We don't use all of them.
Yeah.
So, with this, I think there's 4 or 6. It's minuscule.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Yes.
Is that where the handicap parking is? So
Currently, yes.
where is the handicap parking?
They would have, if we go in that route, they would have access. You know where that little knee wall is? Well, that would be taken out, and now you would just move a lane further into the park. So you wouldn't be going up the stairs. It would just move it. The one thing that will be occurring relatively soon will be the minor changes to the flow inside the parking lot, and then we'll look at, when we're doing work out front of the high school, what other things do you want to do all at once? Okay. Thank you so much. I hope this covers your questions and what you're looking at. This is a real opportunity for the school district to take a leap into the future. When we sat down, what I'd ask you to do is, if your child was starting in kindergarten, would this be something you'd be looking for? If your child is in 11th grade, is this something you would be looking for? That's what we tried to do. Cover all the different areas of our program while recognizing this is a cost to the community and being as reasonable as possible. Thank you. The handouts will be online. I don't know if we printed enough. Okay. While our students exit, who had, I think, some spectacular questions, and I appreciate their questions, thank you. I believe the good questions give them at least one homework that they get excused from by order of the Board of Education. Okay. We've completed the audit report. Are there any other questions on the agenda before we move on? Brad? Just talk up with the kids just to leave.
I see the speech teacher part-time is being reinstated.
The speech teacher is being reinstated as we looked as the year progressed. More children were recommended. She's being reinstated at a higher, instead of 0.4, 0.6. We will examine that again in mid-year and accommodate as the need arises. Okay. Personnel, Ed, appointment, social worker.
Social worker, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following probationary appointment for Kayla Muglia, school social worker, appointment date of October 18th, 2018, expiration October 17th, 2022, at step A, MA plus 30, initial.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Carrie. Any comments? All in favor? Following on our question, Brad had speech teacher, part-time. Lynn?
Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following appointment. Jennifer Takis, sorry about that, speech, October 10, 2018, step B, MA, 0.6 position.
May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Any comments? All in favor? Steve, special education teacher leave replacement.
Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following appointment. Stephanie Julie, Gully. Special education, October 7th, 2018, appointment date with an expiration of November 20th, 2018 as a leave replacement position, step A with an initial certification.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor? Number 4, we will do each individual separately because of potential conflict. Anne Marie?
Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following substitute appointments. Aaron Dorosky, substitute teacher, 10/18/18, $111 a day.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Steve. Any comments? All in favor? Anne Marie, will you continue with Megan?
Megan Larson, substitute teacher, 10/18/18, $111 a day.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Any comments? All in favor?
Madam Clerk, please note my abstention from this candidate.
Stacia Gennaro, Ed, and Steve.
Myself as well, for station.
And Marie, we continue with Ms. Gennaro.
Stacia Gennaro, registered nurse, 10/18/18, $125 a day.
Second.
Any comments? Those in favor? And 2 abstentions.
No, Ed was on and, person before, correct?
Ed was on Stacia.
No, I was on Megan.
Oh. Thank you. Back to Kerry for coaches.
Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following coaching appointments. Eric Girolando as the spring track varsity head coach on October 18, 2018 at step 4. Eric Girolando again as the winter track coach for varsity on October 18, 2018 on step 7. And Lee Markowitz for winter track varsity assistant coach appointed on October 18th at step 7.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Any comments? All in favor? Ed, action items, educational.
Action items, educational, CTEIA Perkins Grant. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following field trip requests being paid through the CTEIA Perkins Grant as written below.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Karen. All in favor? This is work that Mr. Roberts has done and gotten a grant for these 2 field trips for some of the students. Virtual enterprise, job well done. And B, Ed?
Committee on Special Education, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education has no objections to the following special education recommendations and approves the authorization for the funds to implement the special education programs and services consistent with such as listed.
Second, please. Second. Any comments? All in favor? Lynn, action items, business, external audit report.
Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the independent audit report for the general purpose financial statements, including the reports on compliance and internal control and the audit of the extra classroom activity fund as submitted by the firm of Cullen and Danowski LLP for the school year July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, and further accepts the corrective action plan as submitted by the Assistant Superintendent for Business.
May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Any comments? This referred to what Jules Sanders was presenting a little earlier. All in favor? Steve, annual, Anne Marie? Annual risk assessment?
Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the internal audit report on staff attendance procedures and the annual risk assessment. Updated as submitted by the firm of Rizzi Schwartz Juraskis for the 2017-2018 school year, and further accepts the corrective action plan as submitted.
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Any comments? All in favor? Now for Steve, obsolete equipment.
Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby declares the following items as obsolete and further authorizes disposal as listed below.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Any comments? All in favor? Gary, increased bid award, D.
Increased bid award, Land Tech Roofing Incorporated, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent and H2M Architects. The Board of Education hereby increases the award to Land Tech Roof Incorporated for the additional driveway sidewalk modification northwest corner of the turf field in the amount of $47,799.
May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Comments? That is the section where the access road and the parking lot meet. The fencing and this walkway was, by design, was going to end As the work began, we saw for safety purposes, and if you were here on homecoming, it prevents the pedestrian traffic from coming right out into the road and forces them to use, at the end of the fenced portion, the crosswalk that is closer to the baseball field for safety purposes. All in favor? D, Lynn, budget transfer, capital fund.
Budget transfer. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following budget transfer from budget code H1620.293 to budget code H1620.297, the amount of $1,329,268. General construction, site work.
Any comments?
Second.
Second, thank you, Karen. Any comments? All in favor? F, Steve, Anne Marie, concussion management.
Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby adds Dr. Andrew Lanzone and Dr. Kyle Keane from Advanced Orthopedics to the list of physicians providing concussion care, RTP, with protocol for student athletes.
Thank you, Lynn. Comment is, our school participates in this program. All our athletes have to go through a benchmarking. If there is, God forbid, any type of injury, they are to the appointed physicians for examination, and those physicians determine when they can come back or what their limitations are, down to whether it's gym, participation in classroom activity, all for the recovery of what is otherwise exponential concussive damage that can occur. All in favor? Thank you. G, secret. Who got that?
That would be me. Do you want to clarify that? I will approve.
No. We'll point out in the comments just a couple of items, but we're not going to read the whole thing. Lawyers vote this.
Secret bond resolution, whereas resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following resolution as listed below.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I'll take a moment. If you'll notice, it lists generally what we're doing in the first paragraph, all of the different renovations and improvements to the specific buildings, what we will be doing and the type of work being done, a type 2 work, what will be renovated or repaired in what is the 5th paragraph. The board, upon its vote, would be resolving that, and within here is our information with regards to the amount. If you go to the next page, that will be the amount. The CEQA is the permitting process. The bond is the separate piece. So we're going to vote on the CEQA portion and then move on to the bond portion. May I have a second on the bond? Thank you. Any other comments? All in favor? Carried.
Bond resolution. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby adopts the following resolution with regard to a bond proposition. Resolved that the Board of Education of the Mount Sinai Union Free School District is hereby authorized to partially reconstruct and improve various buildings of said school district, including related site work, athletic field improvements, and other incidental improvements, which shall include modifications to, replacement of, and improvements to various building components and site improvements at a maximum estimated cost of $25,332,000, and that to pay said cost, the sum of $25,332,000 or so much thereof as shall be necessary, shall be raised by a tax to be collected in annual installments as provided in section 416, of the education law, and in anticipation of such tax, up to $25,332,000 obligations dollars of said school district shall be issued.
Second.
Any other comments for tonight? All in favor? Good. And Ed, bond resolution notice of the special district meeting.
Bond resolution, notice of the special district meeting. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the publication of the notice of special district meeting to be held on December 11th, 2018.
May I have a second? Second. Thank you, Steve. Any comments? That's the vote. It's called the special district meeting, but that will be the vote on December 11th
In the elementary school?
in the elementary school from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. All in favor? Thank you so much. General questions, comments, anything anyone would like to add before we close? Brad?
There's been some news lately about a move to allow school districts to essentially opt out of having votes on the campuses. I'm wondering what the board's position is on that.
Votes?
Votes.
Voting. Oh. I've read about that, and I think you've gone forward and made some inquiry. We have, when we do votes, we have the use of a conference day, so our children aren't here. But that is a big issue, and it's as if it's not our decision. And I do know that some of our neighboring districts have said, well, you're welcome to use it, but you need to provide security.
The superintendents as a group petitioned Board of Elections for alternative sites. No one in this area, in my cohort, wants voting on campus. They made various suggestions, strongly Miller Place, and then everybody signed on a letter to protest what is currently done. It just doesn't make sense. We have many we have the park, as you know well. We have the Caracappa Center that could work just as well and probably better than our buildings. But at present, we don't have that choice yet. The fight is constant. Maureen's called a number of times herself to say, can we do it elsewhere? And right now, they say no. But there's a strong movement statewide to take it out of the schools.
My opinion is we're doing everything for security purposes. It's as simple as this. We take so much time to close our campus to our students only. You have to come on, identify yourselves. When we have people coming to vote, they balk at stopping at the gates. They don't want to stop. They may not be allowed, we may not be permitted to do it. There may be a disenfranchise issue. Everything down to, there are election workers here, people we don't know, who we've gone so far as to say, well, if you're doing that, you have to provide your own bathrooms, get porta potties here. I'm not saying that may not be the case. We may say, you can use our, you're allowed to tell us you're going to use our facility, but we don't have to use, you don't have to use our bathroom. You can bring porta potties. You know, that's part of the problem here, is that there is a disconnect between what is our community schools, what are our rights, and our legislative officials listening to those rights, because that's who we talk to, and they tell us there's nothing they can do. Some are listening. The superintendents have sent a letter that this is directly against what we're trying to do in all of our schools, and particularly here in Mount Sinai. And frankly, there's plenty of other facilities that you could go to.
With our guards, we're more than ever able to protect that hallway at this point.
Any other questions? Yes.
I have a follow-up question on the forum with the special education community. You've mentioned the past few meetings. Has a date been set for that meeting yet?
We've been chatting amongst ourselves for our calendar because of the number of meetings we've been doing to get to this point on the bond, and we're looking at the first week in November. We will do an announcement, and it will be a board, a notice meeting, because all of us will attend. We're just looking at our personal calendars to see when we're available. Brad?
No, we went in.
Nice.
Yeah, but you can do it at my house, right?
I can come to your house.
Right. I'm curious with all the bond projects, if because it's a school district, we have additional cost that's incurred versus if this was a private entity doing the similar type of projects. And the reason I ask that is because I'm currently taking a class at BOCES at night, and in support of that class, they wanted to have a shed to store some of the things we're working on. And they needed to pour a concrete pad. And the cost to pour a concrete pad to support a small shed was $14,000. Which
Really nice.
and I was told that it cost that much because of various rules pertaining to education projects. So I'm just wondering
It's
if
not
we're
really
being charged
education.
premium.
What's the term, Severio?
Public Works project.
Public works projects, whether it's, we're a municipality like everyone else. Towns have to do the same thing. Nothing we can do about it. We have to go through a bid process, and it's a whole requirement. It's different than if this was a private property and a private building and we were doing it privately, all to code correctly. I think you're right, there's other charges that are incurred, and the question becomes, to follow your statement, why? What is it we're getting for 14, what's better for that concrete than when I poured concrete at my house? Was that better concrete?
And it's not that the bid process is flawed, it's the requirement of the bidders to pay prevailing wage labor rates to the people that they're employing. So if they were bidding on that project at your house, they could pay whatever they want. They could pay a laborer $10 an hour to do that job. As soon as it becomes a public works project, by law, they have to pay the stated prevailing wage with the certified payroll to prove that they did so. So it's not to say, oh, we're just going to charge them extra because of schools. It's because of the public works project and the legality issues that require them to pay prevailing wage. So their costs are higher.
Prevailing wage is generally like what?
Prevailing wage is based on each individual trade and it's set forth by the public worker.
Okay.
So for each individual trade, it's per hour based on that.
But it's both of us.
It's significantly more than you would see on private entity.
That's an answer that doesn't make sense, but at least gives some insight into that type of work.
Philippa?
I don't know if it was already done because I don't go out for most that much anymore. But that house that kind of juts around across from the high school turf, the fence there, is that going to be redone there? Those people have like a wooden fence that I know someone went through last year. Do you know where I'm talking about?
No, not really.
That house.
Yeah.
One child's property across the way from the corner.
Oh, the access road with the.
The road connecting, like when you go into the high school and pass the turf on your left and you go towards the high school parking lot.
Yes, that whole section is not yet addressed. So you come in the gate and to the right, the very nice blue house, you can tell them I said that. That has not been fenced. We worked the fencing that's there, we're gonna take down. That's going to be fenced. If you come along the access road, we're going to have to address the space that's there. One consideration is to take down what I call the weed trees. They're all invasive. There's not a tree there that belongs there. There's dead trees. To put a fence and finish it off and go up and around, and that would complete the area.
And then what about, I know one of the things I was talking about was possibly partitioning off the high school kids' lunch area. But are you guys just going to do that? You talked about
The stanchions.
Yeah.
There's going to be parking lot stanchions, and maybe Severio can cover what's going to occur past the building.
Yeah, we're looking to create a courtyard with masonry piers and some fencing or low masonry walls
Just
to
like
encompass that.
a low thing, not like a...
The students can't get out from there into the parking lot. We can provide some protection from other people trying to get into that area, but also control then what happens and protect those students in that area.
It's not a full, standing height.
Because I think the kids were kind of like, I know that now that there's so much more security, I mean, I understand back in the day, people could just stroll, drive in and the kids were sitting there. As soon as the weather's good, they could sit outside.
Right.
But you kind of hate the idea of them being really cooped up there. We've got these
more intense security now, so you would hope that people, you know, if they're coming in, they're being announced and they're looking out.
Well, I think it's more for an aberrant vehicle, something like that. If you look at the area between the cafeteria and the entrance, most of that is 2 courses of bricks on, maybe 3. That's going to be increased. There's a couple of sections where it's stone and you can sit on it. It's a little higher. It may be a little bit higher. I think it will be equivalent to where we have the half windows, something to that effect, where they'll be a little bit more substantial, and that it will provide some protection. It isn't going to be an 8-foot wall of cinder block. That's not what we intend.
Sounds good.
Yes, sir.
The social worker that was just approved, is that a
Yes.
new position or is that a replacement?
That's a new position. If you recall last year when we were speaking about arming the guards, we brought up the concern, before that ever comes about, there's issues of mental health, and the board approved the new position, and that's what this position is.
High school?
Or she's assigned to a specific building.
Just 3 buildings.
3 buildings.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you, Ed.
Second?
Thank you, all in favor? Thank you this evening.